Okay, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I begin with this lesson, I want to start by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, Agri and Millstone, who do rule well and teach well, and are the true leaders of Israel today, which Israel consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you scattered abroad Israelites that may look like the other nations, but your seed line through your father's side goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which would be, for the majority, a so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. All right, shalom to the hopeful elect, and you Akim, you brothers pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth with all truth and sincerity, making your calling and election sure, man, and you few sisters. Shalom. All right, so real quick, this is going to be a lesson just going into patience, because one thing that, Jake and myself, need to work on is being patient, man. Trying to get all the knowledge in one go and in one night and whatnot, it's vexing. It's tiresome to the soul and to the spirit, and to the body. So really, you gotta be patient with it, man. Little by little by little. I know you see the prophecies popping up. I know it may seem that things may happen tomorrow and whatnot, but at the moment, you gotta be patient with getting this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Because if you move too quick, you can, burn yourself out. You can, bug out quick. And you're gonna run into more problems instead of just taking it little by little. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, if you're in a rush to gain wisdom, then what you do is what you pray and fast, and the Lord will what? He will quicken you. Okay? Apollos has planted, but the Lord giveth the increase. So the Most High, if it's really, in your spirit to just constantly, want to grow quicker and quicker and quicker and get up to the highways and the hedges and teach right away, then, you pray and you fast on it, okay? But real quick, let's get straight to it. I want to start with the book of Luke 21 and 19. So, bear with me. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 19, straight to the point. In your patience possess ye your souls. Because when you come into this ministry, when you come in to learn this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, it's sweet. It's real easy to digest, because it's real happy. You find out you're an Israelite. You find out that the promises are to you. You find out about, the spiritual powers, the kingdom, the rulership, so on and so forth. You're getting a, rejoiceful spirit. And it's real sweet at first, but then you find out that you gotta, your family and your friends don't want to, associate themselves with you anymore. You may lose your job. Your Eve, your own wife may not want to deal with you anymore, as long as you put off this, Hebrew Israelite stuff, so on. You know what they call us, the black Hebrew Israelites. You're going to go through a lot of different tribulations and trials when you walk into this ministry. But the thing is this is what is required of us to go through. But in your patience, you possess your souls. Okay, so how do you really, defend yourself from this? How do you really, go through this time of learning this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, as these different tribulations and trials are coming after you? So real quick, let me get this in the book of Sirach. Bear with me. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 2, and I'm going to get straight to the point. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 2, and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, prepare thy soul for temptation. Did we not just read in the book of Luke, the 21st chapter and the 19th verse, that in your patience, ye possess your what? Your souls. Same thing here. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, prepare thy soul for temptation. Yes, you take it slow by slow, you grow with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because if you move quick, remember, you can bug out and a lot of things can go left for you. And I'm going to get a precept in the scriptures on why you should not move quick. But you're going to grow. You're going to go through different trials and tribulations. Your family may, depart themselves from you. Again, like I stated, there's a lot of different things that may happen. Your loved ones leaving you, jobs, cutting you off, so on and so forth. And you're trying to strive for what? To please Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You're reading, you're studying, you're going back over the precepts and so on and so forth. But in the midst of you doing this, the Most High is purging you. He's cleaning you off, because the scriptures say that gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So if you're able to endure these different things that are going to happen when you do come into the ministry and come into this truth and to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, what's going to happen is you're going to be found to be acceptable. You're going to be able to go out and teach. Your soul is, and then again, we all understand that this is all predestinated. Okay, so regardless, if you are of the elect, the Most High is going to have it to where you're going to be able to increase and grow in this truth while you're being purged. It is what it is. The scriptures say, make no tearing. And I can get that real quick. What is that? Sirach. Yep, real quick. Bear with me. Yep, Sirach 5:7. Make no tearing to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. So when you come into this work, when you come into this truth, when you come into actually serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you come into it right away, man. You don't make no tearing. You ask questions. You go on brothers' comment boards. You ask for guidance. You ask for, examination from other brothers. You examine yourself as well, and so on and so forth. Because you're going to go through what? Different temptations, different things that are going to come about. But it's all to try you, to see if you're worthy to even go out to the highways and the hedges and teach, to even be able to even get this wisdom. Because the scriptures talk about this wisdom in the book of I think it's the book of Sirach as well. Bear with me. I got a whole new apocrypha, man, to water to the brother out there, man, that allowed me, to get it real quick. But bear with me. God, you know what? I don't have it, and I don't have a phone right now to really go ahead and grab it. But just to quote it, this wisdom is likened unto a woman, and she's gonna discipline you, and she's gonna make you go through different things so that she can truly love you and accept you. So if you're able to make it through these different trials and tribulations and temptations that are gonna be put in front of you, then she's gonna accept you. But some brothers, what happens is you come into the ministry, you get some kind of wisdom, knowledge puffed up, and then next thing you know, you're back in the world, or next thing you know, you're out there teaching a bugged out doctrine because nobody can tell you anything. You want to become somebody here in this world. You end up like an Alizé. You end up like these different camp leaders that refuse to teach the truth about the Charagma, the MOTB, and certain other breakdowns, because they just can't accept and admit that the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone have the truth. And it's really a pride thing, man. It's something that they have against Apostle Tahar and the elders. And you can see it, if you have the spirit of discernment. Because when the elders break it down and whatnot, it should be real easy to grasp. Salakia. The scriptures say that his ways are plain unto the holy, but unto the wicked they are stumbling blocks. All right, so for the most part, if, again, like I said, this stuff is, it's like not this stuff, But this walk, this ministry, you coming into it, it is all predestinated, whether you endure to the end or whether, you come into the truth and end up going to a false camp, or whether you fall out. Okay, this is all predestinated, but nonetheless, you're going to be what? Going through different things, okay? While you're growing, while you're learning. So you got to be what? Patient with this thing, man. Take your time with it. That's one thing that, I personally didn't do when I first came into this thing. I was real quick with it. I didn't balance myself out. I was studying every fucking day, man. I'm talking about I came in when I was really young. I came in when I was roughly, around 17. I didn't even have a job. I was still at my parents' crib. I was, I was just too locked in. So the Most High, had certain things happen in my life to where, He set me back and made me reflect, because I wouldn't be able to really grow in this truth, moving the way I was moving when I first came in. And this is why I'm making this lesson. So you got to be patient, man. You got to make sure, you're taking care of your deeds in the world, because you got to end up, you got to pay your own bills. You got to take care of your own, vehicle, your assets, the apartment, the house, if you may have a house, family, if you may have a girlfriend, or if you may have a girlfriend and kids, or if you just have kids and it's you gotta be able to manage these different things. Your job, make sure you got a good job and whatnot to be able to, manage things in the world as well, manage things in the truth. And this is why you gotta be patient, man. Just be patient, brothers. I mean, and if you're a young brother, like just really coming into this thing, and you don't, really have anything in the world going on for you, because you're really just putting all that off to the side, is good. Don't worry about that. But the thing is you got to make sure you do have, don't just throw away things that you have. I mean, if you got a good welding job, man, stay in it. As long as you're able to, study, read, go out to the highways and the hedges and teach. If it's, in your spirit to go out and do so. Don't just put off, unless it's too much of a distraction. Now, if you have, maybe you came into this truth and you already had your life situated. This is another case. You already have your life situated and you're getting ready to come into some big, money or numbers. You're getting ready to get promoted or whatever. But you come into this truth and you realize that, hold on, if I take this route, I'm not going to have enough time for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So this is where things get tricky, and it's all from case to case. But nonetheless, that man that comes into this truth and has his life set, and he's getting ready to move up in the worldly ranks, he still has to be patient in this walk. Same for that brother that's young, coming into this thing, that doesn't have a lot of things going on, but he needs to start getting his life together, quote unquote. You still have to, be patient and figuring out how to maneuver to be able to study, read, and then take care of your worldly endeavors, man. Okay, so real quick, we got that in the book of Sirach, going into, when your patience possess you, like in the book of Luke, and your patience possess you your souls. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 10. All right, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thine might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest. So yeah, you're in the good spirit of wanting to study, wanting to read, wanting to lock into this truth, and just constantly being that spirit to just grow. But at the same time, verse 11, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. So it's good, of course, to do your whole might, to do your all when you come into this truth, to go ahead and grow, get the precepts, get the understandings, the breakdowns. It's great, but You got to do it with balance. The race is not given to who? The swift. Hey, as a man, you should want to strive for masteries, but you got to strive for those masteries what? Lawfully, or else you will not be crowned. All right, so that's the thing. Personal testimony again. I was doing my whole might. I was just going straight ham, all onto, studying and reading and going over breakdowns, 2-hour breakdowns, two-hour breakdowns in one day, calling up the bro, breaking them down to him, so on and so forth, man, but at the same time, the brother that I was, he's still, he's in the faith, he's still making his lessons, he's still going out to the highways and the hedges to this day, but we all had, this growth period where we had to have a setback, because in retrospect, we would not be able to still be pushing this truth if I was moving the way I was moving when I was first in this thing, man. Just being quite honest. So, I look at things in retrospect, and I say, the Wadi Al-Bashim, I was shot for the spanking, because I was being over righteous. I wasn't moving the right way. And I wasn't really at that time, I didn't know there was an order that the elder had put out that, brothers needed jobs, so on and so forth. So I wasn't really, moving in the right way. So, now, this time, 2026, I got an elder over me. I got the brother getting ready to come and meet the elder and whatnot that's out here, with me in Yuma. And, things are now, moving. The Wadi Al-Bashim was shot. And you may not see my YouTube real active sometimes, but we really be on the TikTok a lot. We be on the TikTok lives. I take a lot of notes there. It just feels more, interactive for me. So, brothers, you also got to find a way for you to study that comforts you, that allows you to grow. Maybe, you're a brother that just likes to listen to the lesson, take the notes, and that's it. Me, I like being interactive. I like hearing the conversation while it's happening, laughing, jotting down precepts, watching brothers' precepts being thrown on the comment board, and, go over there and read that, snag that one real quick. Hey, and yeah, that's, everybody got to find their own balance. And, the elders say this, the hardest thing in this truth and in this ministry is to find your balance, because you got to balance. I mean, me personally, I got to balance my job, the gym, and that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it. And, reading and doing lessons and whatnot. So, for another brother, man, it may be different. It may be a lot different. You may have more different things to juggle. The Wadi Al-Bashim was shy that I don't have, a kid at the moment. I know, hey, because that would just be another task on my plate that would take away from, me being able to do this work the way that I'm comfortable doing it now. But nonetheless, again, imagine if the Lord does, do that. He brings a kid into my life. I gotta what? I still gotta be studying. I still gotta be reading. I still gotta be going out to the highways and the hedges. I still gotta be uploading my lessons. I still gotta be in touch with the Akim, while it's now taking care of a new task that the Lord had, allowed me to have. Okay? And with that is what? Patience. You gotta be patient with it, man. And the 3 lessons a week, that that's a decree from the elders. That should be so super doable for brothers, no matter how much you have on your plate, man. That should be real doable. Okay? And speaking to myself first and foremost, I know the flesh, sometimes the flesh wins, and this is where that battle comes in, man. This is where you gotta fight, and you should want to fight, man. But this is what this is something that brothers understand, right? But going into the race, let's get 1 Corinthians 9:24, because as you're going through these different trials and tribulations, remember, you still got to be gathering up the milk. You still got to be gathering up simply put, the basics, the foundation. Because, before I get 1 Corinthians 9:24, going into the race, actually, no lie, we'll get that now. This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9 and verse, straight to the point, Verse 24, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. When you come and start making lessons, when you come and start going out to the highways and the hedges, start really indulging yourself in this ministry, start, praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, start putting off that old man, guess what? You have to count the cost if you're going to be able to do that all the way into the end. The scriptures say that, man. You got to actually reflect onto that. You got to actually reflect onto yourself and say, am I really going to be able to put all this stuff off until Jacob's trouble? Am I really going to be able to go out every Sunday to camp and teach? Am I really going to be able to withstand the Lord taking away my family, different events that I have with my family, things that I have going on in the world? Am I going to be able to really do this and do it to the end? Because, hey, the scriptures say, if a man put his hand to the plow and look it back, he is not fit for the kingdom of heaven. So you got to really take these things into consideration. You got to really think about things like that, because it's the truth. And the scriptures tell you to count the cost. See if you can, see if you can finish this house, man. If you can't finish this house, don't even start building it. Hey, if you're going to be, if you're going to be just a lukewarm Jake that's getting ready to fall back out into the world, man, just be there. Don't come into the ministry half-assing it. We just read in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter, when thou so findest, work, put your whole might in it. And to be honest, this is really the only thing that you should really be striving hard for, something that you should really be focusing on, because this is truly what's going to pay out. This is truly where our money is at. When shit hits the fan and things really start to really crack off, where, brothers really get laid off, the power really goes out, the water doesn't turn on. Esau Edom is out there on the, intercom saying, we got FEMA camps over here with the C-HIP and whatnot. These are the moments where you're going to be able to cash out in this ministry, in this work. Remember, the scriptures say that our works are not done in vain. Okay? So you got to really count the cost, man. And, hey, you got to have a foundation. So real quick, Luke 9, 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 24. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. Verse 25. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. You see? Juggling things you have in the world while juggling things you have in the truth, because you have to do that. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. You see these people in the world, where are they at? They move all the way in the world. They're temperate with things in the world, how they can, grow in the world. But we balance out this truth, and of course take care of our things in the world, but we're more focused on what is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, this ministry. All right. So, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. So we're temperate in what? This truth. We're patient. We move, we grow slowly, while taking care of things in the world. And we're striving to be what? Masters at this thing. So that what we can teach. And that's in the book of Hebrews, which I will get, Hebrews 5 and 12. So we're striving to do that, while Jake in the world, they're striving to be masters at their job, at getting money, at carnal things, sports, music, whatever it may be, man. They're striving for a corruptible crown, praises of men here in the world. Nah, we're doing this. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 5 and verse 12. For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So when you first come into this truth, what happens? The way I came into this truth, it was a IUIC video saying you're not, Mexican, or you're not a Mexican, you're Issachar. What the fuck? Went in and clicked the video, and since then, started growing and learning slowly but surely. You find out that the true men of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua are the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, at least when it comes to the doctrine and the men that the Lord has set up for us. Because remember, Great Millstone is just a banner. The elders always say this, even amongst Great Millstone members, you may have those that may not make it. So, nonetheless, for the most part, the men at Great Millstone, you find out that they are the true men set up by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to guide as, you should be in this walk, teach the doctrine and how to move and how to maneuver around different cares of this life, all the way down to the women and the Eve and the kids and whatnot, man. The apostles and the men at Great Millstone, they have it. All right. But what it said, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So you start growing little by little. Like I mentioned, I came through, you're not Issachar, or it's like you're not Mexican, you're Issachar. And then from there, the breakdown of, Yahweh Shai, how he actually looked. Then, the Gentiles, the olive tree, Acts the 10th chapter, uncommon, common, you go into stuff like that. Then you get into deeper breakdowns, Genesis, so on and so forth, the history, Maccabees, and pointing out how Esau, Edom ties back to, the so-called white man. You slowly keep growing as you ask questions, but while you're doing that, you have to balance yourself out, man. Don't move too quick. The Lord can knock you off, your high horse, so to say. Verse 13, for everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. You have to what? These men have been exercising their discernment of good and evil. They've been growing, learning the true breakdown, the good of the scriptures, the understanding of the scriptures, and also the evil, the false breakdowns of the scriptures, the wrong way to move in this truth, wearing fringes everywhere you go, so on and so forth. Hey, these men, you got to come up under somebody, man. You're not going to be a lone wolf. You're going to have somebody, to correct you, to look out after you, to show you your wrongs, and to rebuke you. Because guess what? That man that's rebuking you, he himself had already gotten rebuked, whether it may have been for the same reason or for different reasons. Nonetheless, we all go through what? Rebuke. Because what? We truly all love one another in this body, man. We truly don't want to see a brother that's in this thing fall out. We all love a brother. And the scriptures say, open rebuke is better than secret love, man. So brothers are going to correct you when you walk into this faith, whether it comes harsh, light, it doesn't matter, man. Just accept it. Because at the end of the day, they're looking out for your souls. And don't just let anybody rebuke you, man. Gotta be a brother, somebody that's been in it, okay? Not somebody that's out there listening to different camps. Not somebody that's out there, just moving around and what. It gotta be a solidified member, man, so to say. So yeah, man. And so yeah, like at 1 Corinthians 9, going into that aspect that we're striving for the masteries. And as you're striving for the masteries, you get that, you need to get that milk. That's in the book also of Isaiah. Let's get this, Isaiah 28 and 9. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 28 and verse 9. Bear with me. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Right? We all want to get all this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as quick as possible, right? We want to just grow right away. We got to be patient, chill out. Them that are what? Weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Just understand the milk first, man. And of course, this lesson is not just to you, Newcomers because I'm a newcomer myself. So I'm still, growing. I'm still studying. I'm still learning, the heavier breakdowns, Daniel and whatnot, even though, I go through them and I understand it and whatnot, I still got to always constantly refresh my mind and dig deeper because I don't want to be that Jake that had, let's get it. Let's get this is the book of Matthew, chapter 13. Let's get straight to the point. I'm going to start at Matthew, chapter 13, and verse 18, and goes down to the point. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. Verse 19, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart, his mind. This is he which receiveth the seed by the wayside. And you see that happen a lot in camps when a member or a man that's of this, lot, he'll walk up to the camp, he's asking questions, he's kind of receiving it, then bam, here comes Satan putting the spirit on this, heathen to, start bugging out and yelling, and it causes that man to go ahead and, dip. He's like, you know what, I mean, this may not even be for me, I'm out. But he was, asking questions, receiving it a little bit, didn't understand it much, but he was into it, and then bam, the Most High sent Satan to bring somebody to, cut him off, because at the end of the day, he was not meant to receive this truth. Okay. And verse 20, but he that receiveth the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it. Right. You first, you get the word, you go ham, you learn it, you happy. Verse 21, yet hath he not root in himself, but endureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. You see? And this is where a lot of, you Jakes that, aren't patient, sit at. Because you didn't draw yourself from the milk. You weren't patient with it. And you didn't really get the understanding. You were just too busy sucking on, the sweet stuff. When you had to really go into, deeper breakdowns, you had to give time to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, you had to study, you had to read, you had to set up lessons, so on and so forth. But all you did was what? Just rejoice over the fact that you're an Israelite, and that's as deep as you got. You ran, you did a full sprint. Go fast. And now you're out the race. You're gone. This is why you got to be patient with it, man. And don't get me wrong. Hey, when you first come into this truth, it's a lot easier said than done. Man, I was, hey, Jake has that fiery spirit, but that's where you become what? Temperate. You become temperate in all things, man. You learn to, oh, damn, I need to chill out. All right, my bad, moving too quick, So, real quick, 1 Corinthians 9 and 25, and every man that striveth for the masteries is temperate in all things. And now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible crown. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, to so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. Hey, we do this and know that what we're doing is true and right. And Ezekiel 33rd chapter and the 33rd verse is going to come to pass. Then shall they know that a prophet has been among them. All right. We're not out here just doing this just for vain, for filthy lucre, trying to get money and status on this side. If anything, man, I don't even like showing my face on the camera. I don't even like to even be seen like that, but I understand that the scriptures say what? That thine eye shall see thy teachers. Okay? So when you get all this, understanding and whatnot, you understand that your face is going to be shown. Okay? And this is something that I need to work on, not just showing my face out in camp, but in my own lessons and in my own videos. Okay? But nonetheless, we know that this truth is getting ready to pay out. It's getting ready to profit. And this is what I mean by, this work is really the only thing that truly matters. When shit is the fan, when the economy collapses, when Iran, causes the blackout, or maybe, whatever. Esau Edom is the one that causes the blackout, and he blames it on Iran, whatever. Doesn't matter. He cuts off the water, so on and so forth. All these different perilous things that we're seeing that America is getting ready to be hit with. You Akim that have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you're gonna be good. You have faith that you're gonna be good, and you believe in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and you have the works to back it. The scriptures say, "Put not therefore away your confidence, which has a great recompense of reward." You're gonna be chilling, if of course you're doing, if you're striving lawfully, because you get the understanding of how the Most High delivered different men of His in the time of their visitation. Right, you had Daniel in the lion's den. What did he had Habakkuk grab him by the head. He had an angel grab Habakkuk from a whole different area of of the earth to bring him to Daniel in the lion's den and give him food and water. We believe that's going to happen to us again. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when the king threw him in that burning bull, who was in the midst? Yahweh Shai, looking out after them. They didn't have any burns on them. They were still walking around after that. Elijah, so on and so forth. Man, there's so many, accounts in the scriptures that go into, the Lord looking out for His men. The book of Acts, when they were put in a position where they had no getting away. And we understand that these times are coming back, and we see it. But we know that what we're doing is going to pay out. So just be patient with it, man. You don't need to have all the breakdowns right away. Hey, the Most High may have it to where you just wake up. You're the last member to wake up. And you maybe just start, brother getting into, the Gentiles and whatnot and yada, yada. And then boom, the Most High, cracks, makes Jacob's trouble in effect. But you have the faith. You have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in what you already had, So, verse 27, this is going to be the end. But I keep under my body and bring in Salakia. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Even a man strong as Paul, he knew that, hey, bro, I myself need, like me making this lesson. This is a lesson really towards me, myself. And Lord willing, your brothers are able to, receive it and, grow. And I don't want to desire to edify a lesson, but a man, as strong as Paul, he even knew that he couldn't be complacent. Look at King David. What did he pray? Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Bakusha, 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 take not thy Rakakudash away from me. Leave not from my presence. Hey, take not the holy. Hey, man, this is why we say you got, be patient and be strong, bro, and you got to be humble, because men like King David and Paul, they were even like, man, I don't want to fall out. I don't want to be that man that, endures for a while, and when, different tribulation comes upon me, now I'm back in the world, So just be patient. You're going to go through different things and different trials. You're going to go through a lot of different things and different trials when you come into this walk. But in the midst of it, find a balance, man. Find a way to and don't go too hard, man. Don't burn yourself out. Have some outside life. Go to the gym, go on a walk. Go, whatever it may be, man. There's a lot of things that Jay can do on the side, but of course, don't let those things take you away from the truth. This is where you need to be at. This is where it's at. Your job. Don't even let your job take too much time away from you being in ministry, man. If you're not able to knock out your 3 lessons, which of course it's real minimal. If you're not able to knock out your 3 lessons throughout the week because of your job, or you're blaming it on your job, then it may be time to move some things around. If you're sincere about this thing, because the way you look at these decrees that are given to us by Apostle Tahar on down, they're not decrees of men. We understand that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua speaks through His men. So these decrees, man, and that's Yahweh Shai really having mercy upon us, because He really could have had it to where a brother has to make a lesson every single day. But what does it set at? 3. Because 3 is really manageable, man. There's no telling what Jake can be going through in his life and in his walk at a certain moment. But whatever you're doing, man, there should be, room to be able to knock out a lesson and go to camp. There should always be that room, man, because if you are of the elect, the Most High is going to have it to where there is a room. Because, again, let's get this. I'll close out with this. Don't want to make it too long. Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So before you were even born, the Most High is going to have it set up to where you're able to teach, where you're able to go out to the highways and the hedges, where you're able to study, where you're able to have time to take care of your things in the world and grow. All right, so yeah, man, it's kind of what I wanted to touch up on. Lord willing, this was edifying and exhorting. Just be patient in the midst of, you're growing in this work. You're going to have and go through a lot of things. So when you do have and go through a lot of things, just be able to manage it. And of course, through blesses he that readeth. There's a lot of precepts that, are going to comfort you. The scriptures are also known as a comforter. This with the Holy Spirit, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Because when you go through these different tribulations and trials, you're going to have Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to comfort you, man. So, with that, I'm going to close out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kakudash. Shalom.